Guys, welcome to my channel, Fashion Lovers. Today it is this two-piece. The top of this two-piece has been done, so this is the part 2. The palazzo is what we are treating in this video. Now this is the calculation I'm working with. My waist is 32, hip 44, thigh 28, trouser length is 44 plus 2. My waist to knee is 22, sitting is 11, and hip is 9. There is something I need to emphasize, guys, especially when you're cutting trouser, especially when you're cutting trouser with Ankara and fabric that is not stretchy. There is need that you put provision for ease. It's either you add it, the provision, when measuring the person, or you add it after measuring the person. So in this video, I added 6 inches to my hip. I equally added to the laps. If you cut using the exact fitted measurement you measured, especially for Ankara, your trouser will not enter. Have that in mind. So, and another thing is, you're cutting a palazzo trouser, but this palazzo is not a bogus baggy palazzo trouser. It's just a normal, a little bit free palazzo trouser. Therefore, adding to my hip and thighs is optional at the same time, but I advise you do that, okay? So I added 6 and 5 to the thighs. Then I summed it up and divided by 4. All right, now watch my measurements. Thighs is divided by 2, hip is divided by 4. Now my sitting is 11. So this is the pattern paper I'll be working with. All right, this is the pattern paper I'll be working with. I've checked the width. The width should be the largest measurement, which is your thigh. Your laps is the largest measurement when it comes to trouser, because you divide by 2 and not by 4. All right, so then you check your length. Now I'm using this pattern paper, like I always say in my video. If I should cut this trouser if I should cut this trouser straight to the fabric, there are some markings you not even see clearly. So the best I always do in my tutorial is do it on a pattern paper where you get to see it clearly and at the same time see what I'm doing. So I just place my tape from the beginning. You can see how I place my tape. What I marked now is my 9, which is my hip length, my hip line. After marking it, you equally mark it the other side. Now in the beginning is naturally our waist. You don't need to ask where is the waist. The beginning is the waist. So I marked 9. After 9, what next do I mark? My sitting. All right, and according to the video, my measurement, my sitting is 11. That is what I just marked. Okay, still putting my tape this way, I'll mark my waist to knee. All right, now you will say waist to knee, because it's baggy, waist to knee is not needed. Yes, it's not needed, but I equally want to pass the message that you can actually achieve other trouser through waist to knee. Okay, so I'm trying to measure it out this way. All the lines, the 3 lines I've drawn so far. So I will use a rule and connect all of them straight ahead. Okay, now have it in mind what you're making is a palazzo trouser. All right, this pattern paper is not up to our length, which is 44, but I will be using it when placing it on the fabric to cut. I will extend it. Okay, so I'm connecting my waistline. The first measurement, the beginning, you already know the beginning of the pattern paper is the waist. The next line is your hip line. The third line is your sitting or crotch, whichever one. And for my crotch, I went for 11. Okay, this is a high waist trouser and there is a waistband on it. All right, so your sitting, you measure it out or you calculate it, whichever one, but consider your band when doing that. There will be a band on this because it's an elastic band. Okay, so I've marked out my lines and I've connected them properly well. All right, so these are the basic line for the trouser. All right, so before we continue, let's label. The beginning is our waist. The next is our hip. This is my sitting, my laps. The next is my waist to knee. And the ending will be my trouser length. Okay, so once you have gotten to this extent, you're close to it. All right. Now, having marked all these basic lines out, the next thing I will be doing is marking out my half inches. Yes. What is this half inches for? It is very important that I get when cutting my trousers, I see where I'm cutting through. That is what this half inch is for. This half inches I'm marking right now is like how do I put it? Do I say is a line for cutting of this of cutting, or space, to give the fabric or the pattern space. So when using so this half inches is more like cutting space. When cutting this trouser, you need space to cut it. That is just what these half inches are marking for is. Some do not mark it, some mark, all right? If you feel you do not need these half inches, it's your choice, all right? But it doesn't change anything. It's just space, when cutting especially this part where I'm ruling right now, I need space, to cut through. That is what this half inches is for, nothing else. There's no meaning to it. Some add it, some do not. So if you wish to add, it is your choice. If you do not wish to, it is your choice. Okay. Now, having marked these half inches, I prefer marking these half inches. So I'll see what I'm cutting when cutting. At the hip, at the H, the line of the hip line, which is your hip, mark your hip measurement. Now, the trouser we are making is palazzo elastic. It has elastic on the waist. Therefore, I will not be needing my waist measurement. On the calculation, I made provision for that, but I will not be using it. I'll be using the hip measurement for the waist and the hip. Exactly what I marked on my H is what I'll mark on my waist. Have that at the back of your mind, okay? Because it has elastic on the waist. So definitely your hip will be bigger than the waist. So whatever is left, we are taking it to be our elastic allowance. So you mark exactly what you have on the hip as your waist measurement. Now let me emphasize something. The 6 inches I added to my hip is matter of choice. If you choose to add bigger, is your choice. It's not compulsory. So this part is my sitting. This sitting, what am I to mark on this sitting? I'm to mark my laps, my thigh. Now, on the thigh measurement, all right, on the thigh, you saw the calculation I did. I even added to the calculation. Okay, so that I added 5 does not mean you cannot add 5 or you cannot add less than 5. You can decide to increase it by 3. It mustn't be 5, okay? But bear in mind is your laps can serve as your wideness of how wide you want your trouser to be. Yes, your laps measurement can serve as how wide you want it to be. So that is what I marked down there. You can see I connected the hip down. Next thing is for me to curve it. Where is my curving? From the laps, I'm connecting it to the hip. I'll be using a French curve for this, but you can go with free hand if you choose to. All right. Connect it from the laps to the hip, exactly as I did. Okay. Now, having gotten to this extent, the next most important thing is you need to know the center of your trouser. The emphasis, when you sew a trouser and it is not standing, where you're making mistake is you not getting the center. I see where I circled the two of them. Divide it into 2 and get your center. Measure it. Divide it into 2. Get the center. It is very important that you get the center of your trouser. Your knee, you need to get the center of your trouser. The way I'm placing it, all right, get the center. Okay. Now looking at my So looking at my paper, I have 9.5 as my center. That is what I just indicated. You either divide your folding, the whole entire fabric width of your pattern paper into two, or you measure the circled part I just did, get the center. This particular center, you connect it straight down. Now I'm connecting from the tie to the laps. Okay, the down part of it is equally need to be connected. While I'm connecting it, let me explain something. With this center, you can determine how pencil you want your trouser to be. Once you have this center and you want your trouser to be pencil, you can determine it here. You want it fish, you want it fella, any kind of thing you want to do on your trouser. This center, it is very crucial. Why it is very, very crucial? So you don't get to cut trouser that, one side, the trouser will face one side instead of one side, So you don't get to shift all your next measurement, all your next marking to one side of the trouser. That is just it. All the markings from now on, especially on the new right now, for you not to shift it to one side of the trouser, you need this center. Now, my roundness, which is my laps, is giving me, look at how wide it is. Now, how do you determine what you mark, the wideness of your palazzo? It's either you take your laps measurement and mark it straight. If you think it will be too big, no, I don't want this kind of palazzo that will be this too big. You can reduce it. You can see how I'm folding the tape. What am I doing? I'm trying to get the measurement that will be proper for my trouser length. I'm assuming this is how wide the trouser will be. Get me? I'm trying to assume that I want my trouser to be this wide. If this is what I want, if it's too small, I can increase it. Immediately I get the exact wideness I need, all I need to do is divide. All right, exact measurement I need. All I need to do is divide it. Now, the total I have to work with is 28. I divided it by 2 and it's giving me 24. Which is 14. Okay. Now, this 14, I will equally go ahead and divide it. If it's 26, it will give me 13, whichever one. So I'm trying to check which I'll be working with. Okay. Now, let me go with this 13. Therefore, this 13, I will divide it by 2. And it will give me 6.5. Yes, Abby. It will give me 6.5. You see where I'm marking? I will mark 6.5. Watch where I started this measurement from the center of the trouser. I'll turn to the other side. I'll start from the center of the trouser, mark my 6.5. You get what I just explained. The importance of this getting the center of your trouser, it is crucial. That is why when you see some trousers, one side, it will be as if you shifted all the palazzo, all the measurement to one side. When you get your center, whatever you're marking on your trouser length should be divided into 2. Now, once you have indicated where it should be, get your rule from the ties or from the seating, connect it down. Get something, you place your rule the way I just place it, from the ties to the measurement. You can go either this way, okay? Since it's palazzo, you can go this way, connect it straight down. All right? Once you have marked it straight down, the next thing you need to do is, you can decide, okay, I want it connected from the sitting to my nail. You can come to the nail and mark. This is optional because the difference are not usually much. The difference, this second pattern now is not usually much. The difference is not usually much. So from your laps to your trouser length, you connect it, or you connect it this way that I'm just doing right now, which you see the difference. Okay, the difference is not usually just, about half inches, which is not necessary. All right, especially for a palazzo. You see the difference. Now it's matter of choice, whichever one you go with. But the day you start getting the center of your trouser, the day you start making a straight trouser that will stand straight the way your leg is, it will not be shifting to any side. So if you decide to do the same on the new, this part, you equally come to the new. What am I marking on the new? The same 6.5. But if it's a fitted trouser, I will not be marking the same 6.5. If it is a trouser that is stretchy fabrics, okay, but it's a palazzo, I'm marking the same 6.5. If you decide to mark it this way, it is still okay. You can either connect the same, connect from your laps to your trouser length, or you connect from your hip or your laps to your knee to your trouser length. Whichever one, you're still on point. What differs your trouser from palazzo to fitted? It is space, ease, bogusness that, differentiates them. Now, you can see this particular one, I connected it from the laps to the knee. There is no much difference. Okay, so whichever way you wish to connect yours, it is your choice. Okay, your own pattern of doing it. But bear in mind that this center, determining your center trouser for division is very important. Then you cut. Let me explain this division again. I decided that 28 or 26 will be my trouser roundness for the leg. You saw how I was folding my tape to get how wide I want it to be. I can either use the same measurement I have on my laps as my wideness, but I don't want it too bogus. Therefore, I decided to reduce it a little bit, and I went for 26. 26, is either you divide the 26 by 4. Then you come and start marking it the way I marked it. Or you divide the 26 by 2. Whatever it gives you means 13 is for the front, 13 is for the back. And for you to mark 13 at the front, you equally need to divide that 13 into 2. Then you start from the center of your trouser, mark to the left, start again and mark to the right. Hope I'm able to emphasize more enough for this importance of indicating the center of your trouser. So having cut out the front this way, the next thing is for us to cut the back part of this trouser. Now this is our front. We have gotten our front. The next is our back part. Now, our back trouser has what we call buttocks. That is the part where the big part of the buttocks, enters. Therefore, there is what we do. There is addition, more like a provision for the hip, the buttocks at the back, on the front, on the back rather, when doing that. And when doing that, we use between 2 inches to 2.5 inches. What I mean 2 inches to 2.5 inches, depending on how big the back side is. If you're dealing with a big back side, you can easily go to 2.5. But if you're dealing with a normal back side, 2 inches is very much okay. All right, that is what I'm marking out right now. 2 inches. When cutting out the back pattern, the very most first thing you do is indicate your 2 inches. The day you make mistake and not add 2 inches to the back of your trouser, both male or female, that day the trouser will not fit in perfectly well. Yes. 2 inches is the first thing you indicate when cutting the back part, when placing to trace the back part of your trouser or trouser, even jumpsuit. Okay, so that is my 2 inches. Then I'll take my front close to that same line, that particular line Whatever I do, my waist must not exceed that 2 inches. Okay, so the best is you get pin, hold it down as much as you can so it doesn't move anywhere. Now, if you watch, I'm shifting it a little bit because this part of the trouser that I'm shifting is not needed. So this is my 2 inches. Okay, it is like a compulsory for all trousers to have this extension at the back. Okay, even if you make mistake not add it, please go back and recut it and add it. Once you have done that, then you start adding 2 inches. You can see where I'm doing this. When sewing, when cutting or divide, whatever calculation you do on trouser, there is no sewing allowance. Okay, whatever kind of trouser you sew, there is no sewing allowance when doing that on the calculation. But when cutting the back part, like I'm doing now, this is when you add your sewing allowance. You can see at the laps, I'm adding 2 inches. Every sewing allowance goes to the back part of your trouser, the back pattern. This is it. At the new two, I'm adding 2 inches. The same thing on the trouser length, I'm adding 2 inches. These 2 inches I'm marking now is what we call sewing allowance. If you watch your trouser, they are never even, like they are never equal. It's because of this. This is what makes your trouser not to be equal. The back part is always bigger. Okay? And what I'm marking right now is equally compulsory. Yes, it is compulsory. You add sewing allowance to the back of your trouser. Okay, so having done this, you can see I connected it from the trouser length to the thighs, then connected it back to the line. You can see how I did that. The next thing, I will equally come up right at the laps and connect it. Okay, I'll use my French rule. Connect. You can see this slanting of the trouser. Watch what I'm doing. I did not slant it away, rather I slanted it back to the original line where it should be. See how I place my tape, my rule to connect it. Then for the crotch part of it, watch how I curved it back to the line. This extension is your sewing allowance for the back and equally the button's allowance. Now watch me cut. The first part I'll be cutting is, let me adjust this a little bit. The first part to cut, you see this side, there is no single allowance added. I'm cutting accurately, like there is no single allowance added to it. You cut off. You see that? You keep that aside. Then we'll start with the 2 inches. Okay, now watch how I'll cut the waist part of it. I started the same with the front. Can see it. The most important part that has these two is where I am now. This part is the part that needs that too. That is the buttock part for the back. This part is where need all the allowance. Whatever allowance you're adding to your trouser, that is sewing allowance, goes this way. It goes this way. All right. So guys, if you're still watching this video, please give this video a thumbs up. If you have any question, drop it on the comment section. I will look into it immediately. And for the sewing of this video, I'll be going live stream. I'll be live streaming to finish this video, all right, to sew it. But in this video, we will be cutting Cutting is what we are doing here. All right. Now you can watch closely how the trouser is. The other part you're not seeing is even, but see the differences. Hope you're seeing the difference between the back trouser and the front trouser. Allowances goes to the back trouser, while sewing the front trouser does not have any allowance. So when done cutting, you place it on the pattern, your fabric. You can see how I'm placing it. Now remember, when cutting this fabric pattern, the length was not the length I needed. Okay, it wasn't up to 44. It was 38, or it's not. It wasn't even up to 38. Okay, so if I place it this way, I will have to extend it until I get my length. Okay, the only extra thing I'll be adding is the length. Let me shift this camera. You can see it. This is where the pattern stopped. Now let me get chalk to mark the exact length that I need. All right, now the reason why I use pattern paper, so you'll be able to see what I did. This is the original length. Now let's move to where 44 is. This is where 44 is. You see where I'm marking. You can see if I use chalk from the beginning to mark all this, you will not see what I'm doing. Okay, this is it. Just extend it the same width, no difference. The same width goes. If you like, you can place your long rule and trace it. All right, but I'm using yellow chalk, yet it is not giving that, is not clearly. That is why I decided to use this pattern paper, though it didn't give us the length, but it is okay. So what I'll do now, the way it is, I've gotten my length, I'll just cut. I'll be starting here, cut the other side exactly. I'm not giving it space of any kind. I'm not giving it space. I'm cutting exactly the pattern. Now this is my back. All right, this video is so long. I'm trying as much as possible to cut it short. So this is the back. If you have not subscribed, subscribe, so when I go live sewing this palazzo, you will be notified. You see when I'm live. So remember, the trouser, that extension is not part of our trouser length. Have that in mind. So this is where I'll place it after the 2 inches. Okay, I need to equally indicate my length for the back. The length of the back and front is the same. Watch me, my length did not start from the 2 inches extension I did. I started after the 2 inches, then I'll stand. Just like I did before, I will indicate my 44. All right, I will indicate my 44. This is where the 44 is. This is it. You can see how many inches is shorting on the pattern, but on the fabric I will complete it. Okay, so in total for the length is 46. If you watch this palazzo on your screen, you can see is the person is putting on new, but it's still touching the floor. It has to be long. The wideness the same, connect it this way, the same wideness, then you cut. So guys, please do give this video a thumbs up. If you have any question, drop it on the comment section. Okay, see you on my live stream when sewing this trouser.